The Knicks summer league season unfortunately ends the same way that their regular season did, with a loss to the Indiana Pacers. But there were some great things to see from Dink Pate, Tyler Kolek kind of getting his groove back still, and a pretty crucial update on James Nnaji and when he might potentially be coming to the Knicks. So all that's coming up right now on Locked On Knicks.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, welcome in to Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast. I'm Alex Wolf. I'm editor-in-chief of Knicks site, The Strickland, which you can find at thestrick.land. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. On today's show, we're talking about the Summer League finale for the Summer Knicks. Unfortunately, a loss to the Indiana Pacers. You don't want to see that, but 91-88, the Knicks lose to the Pacers. So is what it is. But we all know Summer League is more about evaluating the talents that are there. I think there were some really intriguing things from Dink Pate. Tyler Kolek had some good moments, especially in the fourth quarter. And there's a update from a European publication about James Nnaji that maybe sheds a little light on why he only played 7 minutes in this game. And then at the end, I'm going to go through and kind of decide the fates of some of the Summer League players, what I would do if I was the Knicks front office with these guys that we just got to see over the course of 4 games. But first, I want to thank you all for making Locked On Knicks first listen today and every day, whether you're checking us out on your favorite podcast platform or taking in the sights and sounds on YouTube. I appreciate you making us part of your daily routine. Make sure you hit the auto download function on your favorite podcast app or the notification bell on YouTube so you never miss an episode. All right, so let's start talking about this 91-88 loss for the Summer Knicks. Important to note in this game, a lot of guys that were not active in this one. So Dottier not active, Kevin McCullough Jr. not active, Ariel Hukporti not active, Mohamed Diawara not active. Unsurprising maybe because, I mean, Dottier, you don't want to take any chances. First round pick, he's locked in regardless. Hukporti, I think they feel pretty good about, the fact that he's on an NBA deal. I think they're like, yep, he's good to go. He's ready to rock. Kevin McCullough Jr., maybe he did enough with that big game a couple games ago to secure getting at least a two-way contract again. And then I think the previous game, Mohamed Diawara made a real strong case for, the Knicks might need to sign someone using a second round exception. I think maybe that ought to be Diawara based off what we saw in that third game. So kind of a skeleton crew for the Knicks in this game. But Dink Pate, I think, was the story of this one. If you want to talk about guys who still had something left to prove, I think that he proved something. 11 points, 7 boards, 2 assists, a steal, 4 of 9 shooting, 2 of 2 from 3. He scored all 11 points in the fourth quarter, made all of his field goals in the fourth quarter. Just a really interesting offensive showing at the end of the game. I think that he scored in a variety of ways and finally kind of showed, like, he was showing the tools for a lot of summer league, but I think that he finally showed the putting it all together, getting out there, actually using the tools and then scoring with them, rather than just kind of flashing some good hustle or some good athleticism or some good timing. He put it all together and actually got some points on the board, which I think was important. I think it was important for him to show that, to show that he has that ability. And, the variety of ways he scored, had a couple threes. He had one with a hand in his face and eventually turned into a 4-point play. I won't say that I'm totally sold on the 3-point release just yet, even though he went 2 of 2 on the 2 that he shot in the fourth quarter. There's something just a little hitchy about it, I guess. Like, it seems like he has to go through too many steps to get there. Like, he really loads it up like really tight in and then has his elbow like very, very well bent and then has to like create a real big motion to get it off. But that said, I mean, hey, if it ends up working for him, great. Also, hopefully it's something that he could just continue working on. I think that what I saw during the summer league, that makes me pretty sure that I want him to be part of the Knicks going forward is the kid definitely has a strong work ethic from what it seems like. He definitely tries 100% all the time. And I think that's what you want to see out of someone that you're potentially bringing in at the level the Knicks would potentially bring him in at, which is, probably a part-time NBA guy, someone who will be there in practices with the big club when they're at home, and then staying in Westchester while they're away to get reps with the Westchester Knicks. Like, I could see a real outline, like considering how young he is, considering the crazy athletic tools, considering it seems like he has a really good attitude and really good work ethic. Like, I could see this being a good investment for the Knicks potentially. But yeah, he also, in addition to the threes, had a nice look where he attacked a closeout at the 3-point line, drove in, got a nice Euro step that was kind of like a just sort of, usually Euro steps are kind of like you go against where your momentum was going. He did one that kind of like just continued where his momentum was going, but got him around a defender nicely. So he was driving in left and then kind of paused for a second, took a huge step to get by, and then went up with a nice layup from the left side. And then a nice cut and transition for a make as well. He was running with, forgive me, I forget who it was he was running with. The rest, so not to insult anyone who's trying to make a career out of basketball here, but there were a lot of NBA 2K creative players on this team that whose names I'm kind of forgetting at this point, but he was trailing behind one of the other players and just managed to get a nice transition look. The guy looked behind him, passed back to Pate. He went up for a nice layup there. So I think it really showed something on offense to me in this game, just the ability to finally put some of these things together, finish through some of these plays, and also just the 3-point shooting. Like, hey, if it goes in for him, cool. I still think he should probably work on making that form a little faster, but all in all, pretty solid work. And also showed some passing and some initiating, which that was a few episodes ago one of the goals that I set out, which was I wanted to see Dink like initiate and have the ball in his hands more. We got to see some of that in this game. They definitely trusted him with that. At one point, I think one of his nicest dimes, he had it on the perimeter and snaked it into Tyler Kolek, who cut in from the corner. And just really nice look right in the breadbasket. Kolek didn't even have to really look up for it. It was just right in his hands. So I think that Pate has some tools. And I mean, that's to say nothing of the fact that on defense, he was doing a pretty solid job of, at least in my opinion, keeping with his man. I thought he was doing a good job communicating. He was one of the only guys that I was seeing kind of like emoting on defense and being upset at the other team scoring, which is good. Like, I think that summer league has a tendency to slip towards just feeling like big pickup games sometimes. But Pate was like out there. There was one point where didn't end up in a make, but he was coming back in transition and he did a good job tagging his man, which then led to the ball getting kicked back out. And there was nobody tagging the trailer, who then got an open three. And you could see Pate like openly like throwing his hands up and like kind of presumably saying to his teammates, hey, who's supposed to get that guy? Like, it's good to see that level of accountability. So I'm a big Dink Pate fan. He made a big fan out of me during the summer league. I think that he's going to be, if the Knicks keep him around, he's a really good, like, keep him on a two-way, have him practice with the big club when you're at home. I think he's going to push people to be better by the fact that he seems like a give 100% even in practice kind of guy. And I think that he'll push himself to get better. And maybe eventually you find yourself looking at having a diamond in the rough. And maybe like next season you go, hey, maybe this kid is worth a full NBA contract at this point. But I think if they can get him locked in on like a two-way deal, that would be a really good idea. So that's it for Pate, but Tyler Kolek had a productive final game as well, kind of easing some concerns about him that maybe existed through the first two games. James Nnaji only put in a few minutes, but there's a pretty big update about his potential contract status. So there's a lot more to get into. And then to close the show, I will be handing out contracts, or at least how I would do it based off what these guys did in summer league. So that's all coming up in just a moment on Locked On Knicks. But first, I want to let you all know about our friends over at Gametime. And we've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. And that's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up 60% off with their killer last minute deals. And I'll tell you what, I'm a big Game Time last minute ticket buyer kind of guy. And I love it for concerts too. I initially would use it to go to basketball games, baseball games, whatever, but I have started using it for concerts. Saw Tyler the Creator this past week, had a great time at that, trying to maybe see My Chemical Romance next month. And I missed out during the pre-sale for MCR, but I actually think I'm going to get a better deal on Game Time if I'm being completely honest. I've started looking at prices and I'm like, it's a good thing I didn't buy right away. I could just get it later on, and stinks for the person I'm buying it from who's losing money, but hey, it works for me. Anyway, if you want to take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets, you can with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, I'm back in. Continue talking through this Knicks loss to the Pacers, 91-88, final game of summer league, but it doesn't really matter. The result doesn't matter. It was a skeleton crew to begin with. I think if they were at full strength, maybe they win this game. But whatever. The result doesn't matter. It's mostly about the players. So, how about Tyler Kolek? 14 points, 5 assists, 1 steal, 6 of 15 from the field, 0 of 6 from three. Of course, if you take those 0 of 6 from three out of there, he's 6 of 9 on his 2 point shots. Um, so I think it's still a little worrisome with Kolek that the 3 point shot didn't really come around in summer league, but it's possible he's just not feeling it. He didn't really shoot well from three in the summer league last year either, and yet still shot pretty well once he hit the NBA in the limited minutes he was given there, and I think shot pretty well from three in the Westchester as well. So look, I don't think his shot looks broken or anything. I think that it just wasn't going in. He doesn't look as broken as he did in early summer league. I think those first 2 games was enough to really make you go like, geez, what's going on with this dude? And then obviously the huge first half of the third game, the closing of this game felt more like how he was last year, in terms of just having the poise to, kind of lead these guys late in the game. You would hope so. Again, at like 24 years old, you hope that this dude has that figured out, considering he's a pretty old second year player. But whatever. You take what you can get. I think at this point, I guess, like, I still have worries about him being a full NBA player, like, through and through, but I think that I'm not gonna, like, panic or anything and be like, "Hey, you gotta ship this guy off the team or something." Like, you gotta go just salary dump him or something like that. That $2 million in salary would be more valuable to sign a veteran or another second round exception or whatever. I don't think that that's something that I'm too worried about. I think you can stick with him. I think he does better in a more structured environment, as we saw like at the NBA level. I think that if Mike Brown is indeed trying to run a lot, which seems to be the messaging, Tyler Kolek might still have a home on the big squad and might be able to do better than what he did during the summer league. I think that this particular Knicks summer league team, things just seemed really disjointed. I mean, there was a lot of games where they were turning the ball over a ton. Kolek was not immune to that. Obviously, he was part of the problem there, but it just felt like there was something that didn't quite click with this group that hopefully would click with the pro club, and maybe it'll give Kolek a chance if they don't sign another ball handler for the bench, which still crossing my fingers for like Marcus Smart or maybe Malcolm Brogdon or something like that. But if they don't sign another guy that is presumably a ball handler off the bench, I wouldn't hate seeing Kolek get a chance early in the season to run out there with like Jordan Clarkson, with Josh Hart or Deuce McBride, whoever's not starting, and you know uh, Ariel Hukporti potentially. All those guys have a little more structure, some pro players around him. Let him show off the fact that he can shoot the three ball, especially from a standstill, which he didn't get to do as much in this summer league. And the fact that he can run pick and roll and stuff like that, and is still a really good passer at his best. I think I'm fine with him. Again, I'm not doing any sort of panicking or anything. with Tyler Kolek based off summer league, and I think that he did a lot of what you want to see like down the stretch in this game as far as taking over, some clutch shot making, stuff like that. Also had a really cool moment where he I don't know, again, I don't know who it was on the Pacers that did this, but someone on the Pacers shoved him like pretty openly, didn't get called for it, and Kolek like tracked him all the way back out to the 3-point line, like gave him a chest bump and like a little like, hey, what are you doing? And you like that. That's some good leadership quality right there. So I'll take it. I thought it was a fine close. The last two games made me less worried about Tyler Kolek going forward. So that's a plus. James Nnaji, just 2 points and 2 boards in 7 minutes. So you might be like, hey, what does that mean? Why is he not playing as much? Well, there was maybe a little bit of light shown on this by an article that came out, I think just earlier today. I think I'm recording this in the morning. I think it came out like overnight or earlier this morning, whatever. Or I guess it's more during the day overseas right now. So I guess this came out during the day in Europe. But so James Nnaji apparently said there must have been a reporter on the ground at Summer League that was asking about this from Mundo Deportiva, which if my Duolingo is right, means Sports World, a publication in Europe, presumably in Spain. But based off Google Translate, I did not use my Duolingo to try to translate this all myself. He said, we haven't announced it yet, but the club and I know that my contract is over because I had a 3+2 contract. I've finished my 3-year contract with Barca, and the remaining 2 years, 2025-26 and 2026-27, are optional. So the club and I haven't activated the option, which was reported by Tony Cañameras in Mundo Deportivo. And then Nnaji said, I wouldn't say I wasn't given enough opportunities. They gave me opportunities, meaning Barca, and I tried to maximize the ones I had. So I'd say it was moderate. They didn't do anything bad to me, but they didn't do much for me either. It's funny. It was a moderate opportunity, not too many opportunities, I'd say. So it seems like Nnaji is ready to come to the States, play for the NBA in one way or another, presumably for the Knicks because they own his draft rights. The fact that he has taken the step to not re-up his player option that he had for an extra 2 years with Barcelona tells me the Knicks probably are going to bring him in. Whether that's they've probably told him, hey, we're trying to make our decision still, whether it's going to be a full contract with that second round exception or whether it's going to be a two-way contract. They might also, I mean, if the market is truly so dried up for them that they can't find another veteran, like if Marcus Smart doesn't shake loose from Washington or Brogdon signs somewhere else or anyone else they potentially have their eye on. I mean, we've seen Ben Simmons smoke, but then also another report from Steve Popper that like Ben Simmons maybe isn't as realistic of an option as is being conveyed. Maybe if that whole market dries up and the Knicks aren't moved by any particular veteran free agent, maybe they're saying to Nnaji and Diawara, like, hey, maybe we'll just sign both you guys. It gives us a little more, like that would certainly give the Knicks more wiggle room for later in the season if they want to sign like a prorated veteran to a deal. They would still have one roster spot open in that case. They could then leave that spot open, sign a prorated veteran after the trade deadline, and get someone in for the playoffs that gets bought out or just remains a free agent throughout the season or whatever the case may be. So certainly seems based off reporting like James Nnaji is going to be coming over to the Knicks from his own words, honestly, because it sounds to me like he's pretty confident he's going to be over here. I'll give a quick shout out also from this game, Marjan Beauchamp, 28 points, 3 assists, 2 boards, a steal, a block. Shot 10 of 16 from the field, 6 of 11 from 3. I mean, he looked good. He scored at multiple levels, but given that he's a 4th-year summer league guy, the Knicks had him on a 2-way last year. I might just be willing to let some other team take the chance on him at this point. I guess I could just see more of an outline of like higher level skills from certain guys than I can from Beauchamp in terms of who I'd want to have on those 2-way deals. I actually am not 100% if he's still eligible for a 2-way deal either, just because I know there's like a year's restriction, like a years of service restriction, and then how much have you played at the NBA level uh, uh, restriction on who can sign two-way deals. So his clock might be up as far as those are concerned. Either way, I think I'm probably letting some other team take a look at him. I feel good enough about the raw talent of the younger guys that the Knicks had on this team to potentially move on from Beauchamp. But good final game for him. I hope that, I hope it was enough to get him an NBA contract and another shot this year. I don't know for sure if I would make it with the Knicks, which brings me to going through and giving all these guys contracts. So I'm gonna in the next segment go through, give my opinion on who the Knicks should sign with the various spots that they have available to sign these summer league guys. Maybe Gavin and I will revisit this another day, but for now, I'm just giving my rapid reaction: who I would sign, who I would let go, who I'd try to bring to the Westchester Knicks. Next on Locked On Knicks. But first, I want to let you guys know about our friends over at OpenPhone. And if you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had an urgent need, maybe for a plumber or a service provider. And if that person didn't answer, did you wait? Probably not. You moved on. That's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the number one business phone system built to streamline and scale your customer communications, all from an app on your phone or computer. And look, Gavin and I are not quite big time enough to need a business line, but at work, I do use a business line that is just for business phone calls. And it's so nice to have an open phone number and voicemail box and ability to get text messages all on a number that's not your personal phone number. So you're not giving out your personal phone all the time. You have just a nice, easy place that's it can also exist on your phone without needing another SIM card that lets you get messages, lets you have voicemails, lets you take business phone calls, keep business and life separate. Always important. So OpenPhone is offering our listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonnba. That's openphone.com/lockedonnba. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. All right, folks, let's hand out some contracts. So the Knicks Summer League is over. They go 1-3. But again, I'm not too worried about the results of these games. I think what is important is that we saw some important flashes from certain guys that allowed us to make some educated decisions about who to potentially keep and retain on this team. You would love if you could have all these guys, but and just see who is just sift for gold and see who pans out. But unfortunately, there's only so many contracts. So the Knicks are going to have to make some decisions about who to keep and who to let go off this summer league team. Getting the easy ones out of the way, like Paco Dadier, keep him on his NBA deal. He's fine. I think he did plenty to show you that he's developing. His skills are getting better. We had that flash in game one. Maybe that's enough even to convince some team to that he's the missing piece if the Knicks look to execute a big trade. But no matter what, I think that he showed, at least in that first game, like if the shooting holds up, he might have a chance to stake a claim for a couple minutes off the bench like this year, which I didn't really know if that was going to be the case or not. But I think the Knicks kind of have a little bit of a need at the backup wing spot for just like a little bit of extra minutes, especially if they keep going with the same starting lineup potentially, and have Josh Hart in the starting lineup with OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. You might want another wing off the bench, and Dottie might have staked enough of a claim to say, hey, like if my 3-point shot goes in and I look good on defense or whatever scheme we install, like maybe I can get a few minutes, because I think he's still got a lot to work on, but I definitely see some outlines of some NBA skills already. Tyler Kolek, he's signed. He's on a full NBA deal. I don't think you do anything rash with him. Again, I think it was maybe a little worrisome those first two games, but no matter what, at worst, you can't really afford to cut him. And I don't think it would make sense to send him somewhere for basically nothing just to get off of his contract or something. I think there's still an outline of an NBA player there. I think maybe you give him a shot with Mike Brown, see if Mike Brown finds a way to use him better. You start having discussions about whether you want to keep him maybe like next offseason. But I think this season it'd be foolish to move off him for no real reason. Now, if they have some veteran free agent they think they can get or whatever that they need to move off Kolek to do so, sure, maybe you do it then. But I'm not making any rash decisions about him. And then Ariel Hukporti also signed to an NBA contract for this season. The Knicks picked up his second-year option that they put on his contract last year. He's only making like $2 million this year. Great deal. Keep him. I think he's going to provide some real NBA minutes this year. I think that he offers a lot of what Mitchell Robinson offers. I think, he credited Mitch with, the tutelage this past season. I think with more tutelage from Mitch and another offseason under his belt, like I think he's going to give you real minutes this year. So absolutely no reason to second guess anything when it comes to Hukporti. But that's where it comes to the guys that aren't signed now. So you have Mohamed Diawara, you have Kevin McCullough Jr., you have Dink Pate, you have James Nnaji, you have Marjan Beauchamp, you have Udai Baba, you have Anton Watson. I think those are the names that I look at it and say they're probably the ones that are fighting for whatever contracts the Knicks have to offer here. So if I was going to give those out, now this is a kind of a switch up from just a couple days ago. After the first couple games of Summer League, I was thinking I think James Nnaji is maybe worth giving that second round exception to help fill out the roster because I'm still a little fuzzy on whether the Knicks can actually sign two more veteran free agents. I'm pretty sure they can't. I think that all they have room for is one veteran free agent and one second round exception at this point. If that is the case, I'm actually thinking you sign Mohamed Diawara at this point. Initially, I was on the James Nnaji train. I liked the fact that this 6'10", 6'11" guy with the huge wingspan is able to pick guys up full court, that he was really pesky on defense. Offense still needed some work, but, I thought, hey, that's another guy you want to potentially get in there as much time as possible, working with Mitch, working with Hukporti, and let him develop those skills because you might have another gem of a center here. But after that third game in particular by Diawara, I'm pretty well sold on him. It just the passing looked like once he got comfortable in that third game, the passing looked crazy. The finishing was looking better. His dribble ability, like just he looked way more comfortable in that third game, and it's enough to make you go, okay. Like I think I see the outline of what Walt Perrin saw here and why the Knicks made getting him such a priority. Or at least like why they were comfortable trading down from 50, getting to 51, and then saying, no, okay, this is where we're going to take this guy. We definitely want this kid. We're not going to like trade out of the draft or whatever. Uh, there's some skills there. There's some real skills there. I think he's going to have to work on his shooting, obviously, but if the shooting comes around, his size is crazy. Some of the stuff he was able to do at his size was crazy. His wingspan is really big. I still say there's a world where if you really play around with it, like I think sign him to the NBA contract, have him with the big Knicks sometimes, but definitely be pretty liberal about sending him to the Westchester Knicks because the more I look at him, if he can really lock in on his size, like I haven't really looked into yet to see if he was like a real late bloomer, but he gives off like late bloomer energy where I don't think he fully understands how big he is yet. But if he figures that out and starts operating more like a center on defense and can provide rim protection and then can do the things that we've seen him do on offense, but like at a more refined and consistent level with the dribbling, the passing, some shooting, the mid-range, whatever, you might be looking at like not just a role player here, but like there's an outline of where you could see like this guy might be a transformative player and a guy that could potentially do something big. Now that's his 100th percentile outcome, right? Like that's like if everything works out and he turns into Jalen Brunson, Nikola Jokic, whatever level, second round, steal potential fulfillment. But even if he just turns into a role player that can play defense at multiple positions, that can hopefully, develop some consistency in his three and that can pass the ball, still really, really valuable player. I think it's worth locking him in, get him on that 4-year second round exception deal. I think they can do a 3+1, so a 3-year deal with a 4th year team option, which then gives them restricted free agent rights on him later on as well. That's what I would do. I'm willing to bet on that and say, much like you did with Dottier by taking him in the first, and I guess sort of with Kolek Steele as well. But I would put Diawara more in the category of Dottier, of saying we might not see payoff on this investment for about 2-3 years, but if the payoff comes, it might come big, and you might have a real stud on your hands. So I think go Diawara with that second round exception, have him on the main roster, but be pretty liberal about sending him to Westchester and letting him play there a bit this year, along with Dottier, along with anyone else you deem necessary, even Kolek still, if you're not going to use him at the NBA level. Then as far as the two-way deals, the Knicks have 3 of those to hand out. I'm going to say I think Kevin McCullough Jr. has earned one of those. I did, after the first game, I maybe overreacted a little bit and was like, oh, I wonder if his two-way deal is in jeopardy here, because if he doesn't start showing something. And then he came back second game, showed a lot, had 30 points. He looked great. I think that I still have worries about whether he does enough high level at the NBA level to really stick, but no matter what, I think he's good enough to give a two-way deal to and figure that out. And, if nothing else, he's going to be a really good presence on your Westchester team. An older guy who, I think would be a good leader. I think will, ultimately give you a little bit of everything at the Westchester level, the G League level of play, even if it maybe doesn't end up translating to the NBA level. Good guy to have around, I think. Next, James Nnaji. I mean, I just read the quotes last segment. That seems like he's pretty well convinced he's going to be finding a new home this year because he turned down his option with Barcelona. I think that probably means the Knicks have said, we're going to sign you one way or another. To me, I'm holding out hope for the veteran that the Knicks can still sign, but maybe he gets signed on a two-way exception and gets signed to a full NBA deal. I'm hoping he gets signed to a two-way. You when you're home, then you can have him with Westchester, and at the practice facility with the big club, getting some reps in with them. But otherwise, develop him in Westchester, get the foul issues under control, work on his finishing on offense. But really good defensive tools there. I think he's going to tear it up at the G League level, and I think there's a chance that, much like with Hukporti, the Knicks look at this guy and go, "Yeah, I think we've got an NBA player here," and he might even get a couple chances to prove that during the regular season this year if there's injuries or whatever. So James Nnaji gets my second two-way deal. Then Dink Pate gets the third one. Probably no surprise. I've heaped praise on him this whole summer league, but I think he's earned it. I think he, to me, reads as the perfect practice player, like the perfect guy that you want waiting for your big club guys when they come home. If he's not traveling with you, which of course a two-way guy can optionally travel with the team sometimes, but I think a lot of time he'll probably be hanging back at Westchester, playing with the Westchester Knicks while the full-size Knicks are, off on their adventures on the road or whatever during the regular season. But when they come back, I think then Pate is the perfect guy you want waiting there. Guy who's going to be eager to get on the floor with his NBA contemporaries. Guy who's going to push them in practice. Guy who seems to never turn it off. Also has a really good, I mean, again, every interview I read from Dink Pate and like everything I've seen is just and just what his road has been to get to the NBA to this point. Like playing for the G League Ignite, he thought he was going to get to do that for 2 years. They shut the program down after his first year, and then he doesn't even blink. Goes to another G League team, plays for Mexico City, an expansion team in another country. Keeps his head about him. Apparently became pretty beloved by the community down there. Really liked, like everyone enjoyed watching him play. He enjoyed the community down there, spoke really highly of them. And then just, it just has this constant like underlying theme in interviews and stuff of like, I'm just here to work. I'm here to get better. I'm here to push my teammates. I don't let anything phase me. I just want to earn my spot. I think that's a perfect guy to sign to a two-way deal. I think, you can see the physical tools are crazy with him. He's, to me, just some refinements away from being an NBA player. I think but they're big refinements. They're not small. You're taking like this is a bet that you're making, but the handle, if it gets a little better, I think he can potentially be a ball handler off the bench or maybe someday starting. I mean, he's still so young that you could definitely see that being an option for him. Uh, the defense looks really good. I think that's probably his most NBA ready skill right now. The athleticism is definitely NBA level. And then it kind of just comes down to the shooting, like the shooting and the handling. Can he refine those? Can he find consistency? If he does, he's got all the other tools figured out, I think. So, um, yeah, I definitely want to sign him to a two-way deal. I want to see what the Knicks can squeeze out of him this year. Get him some garbage time minutes at the NBA level every once in a while. Let's see what he can do. But mostly get him tons of reps at Westchester, have the ball in his hands a lot, have him playing point guard, even if it's ugly for a while, you know, because I can tell that he's not going to be a guy that's going to let that phase him. But anyway, so that's what I'm doing with all those guys. And then uh, finally, I would just say for Beauchamp, for Uday Baba, and for Anton Watson, I would offer them Exhibit 10 deals for camp that allows them to get signed for more money with the Westchester Knicks if they choose to. But that's what I would do for that. And then that's it. The rest of the guys, sorry, I don't think I'm signing you, but best of luck in your future endeavors. It's nice seeing you on the summer Knicks, but maybe some of those other names end up on the Westchester Knicks as well. I guess we shall see. But for now, that's it for Summer League. And maybe Gavin and I will do one last tie it all together episode together. But fairly uneventful Summer League, but some nice new faces. I was happy to see James Nnaji. I was happy to see Dink Pate. Happy to see Kevin McCullough Jr. in his first Summer League after not being able to play last year. Muhammad Diawara obviously made a big impression. So definitely not a Summer League that was for naught. But anyway, thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week with some more content. As usual, 5 days a week in your feed. So till then, thank you all for listening. We'll talk to you soon. Peace out, everybody.